Hi, we're live. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Nell. I'm the executive director of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. And I always give it a couple minutes for the tornado sirens to finish their rounds. We're getting right here. I am thrilled today to be joined by Kesi Milligan, who is with AltCap. And you're probably thinking to yourself right now, what is AltCap? And I had similar questions about AltCap, but we're gonna get all those answered today because as soon as I heard her talk, I said Kesi Milligan needs to come on my show to talk about that. So hello, Kesi, how are you today?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm glad to be here, Stacy. And you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Now, I wanted to read a little bit about AltCap. And this is just taken straight from the website. AltCap exists to be a catalyst for investment in capital and resource starved communities in Missouri and Kansas through the delivery of accessible and innovative financing products, targeted small business and economic developmental programming, and the development of strategic partnerships that promote inclusive and equitable economic growth. Okay, the purpose of AltCap, it exists to increase the flow of capital to communities and businesses not adequately served by mainstream financial institutions, whether that's through new markets tax credit program, small businesses, or microloans and other alternative capital. AltCap is committed to delivering accessible financing to support job creating small business investments and a catalytic commute. I always think catalytic converter. Anyway, catalytic community focused real estate development projects. So thank you, Kesi, for coming on today. And the first question, it's a lunch and learn. So I always ask people, what are you having for lunch?
Leftovers. Yay.
Still, are we still making our way through the Thanksgiving?
Oh my gosh, we're still making our way. I do quiches every Thanksgiving, so we elect one meal out of that holiday time frame that it's a breakfast. And so I just prior to getting on here warmed up my last piece of quiche, and so yay.
There you go. I do love a good quiche. It's
Yes.
always nice to have. So now, AltCap. So just as background, the last couple of weeks we've had people coming on. One from Wyandotte County, Danetta Watson came on, and so she deals with economic in Wyandotte County. 2 weeks ago, Christina Long came on. She deals with economic development in the Black community in Wichita area. And I've had the lieutenant governor come on to talk about Network Kansas. So I've sort of been building this history of talking about access to capital for the Black community, how Black businesses. Rhonda Harris has been on talking about getting certified on the Kansas side. So it's you're sort of part of this ongoing story I've been telling about Black entrepreneurship, how to get access to capital, how to get set up, how to get certified. What I was always sort of in the back of my brain was that for Network Kansas specifically, getting a bank loan might have been a hurdle.
Mm,
And,
mm.
for sometimes in our community, just getting a bank loan or having all the paperwork in order is somewhat of a hurdle. So when I heard you speak at the Black Entrepreneurs of Flint Hills, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, this is an interesting piece of this greater puzzle. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely wanted to have you on to talk about your company, AltCap, and the services that you provide. But tell us a little bit about you. Like, how did you get into financial services, or how did you fall into this line of work?
So I went back to school as an adult student. I recently graduated in 2019 from the University of Missouri, Kansas City, which is UMKC here, with my bachelor's in urban studies with a focus on community development and housing. What was so funny is that in my senior year, 2019, one of my professors who was adjunct taught a class. Obviously finished his class and then graduated in December of 2019, went into the pandemic. Really wasn't sure what was going to happen at that point. Scrolling through LinkedIn, thinking, hey, maybe if I can't get a job out of college, I can spruce up my LinkedIn and something will happen. So saw my former professor out there, sees that he's the CEO, and I knew he was the CEO of AllCap, but I came from real estate and B2B sales, retired Aflac. What would I call myself? Sales associate. So 11 years with Aflac, building a book of business in health and life insurance products, but Gave his company a compliment on LinkedIn. Come to find out they were hiring for this position here. I interviewed and got it. So I just kind of fell into that. But when I looked deeper at the role, it's similar to what I did with AFLAC as that business development piece, but it's also that give back where I get to work with, you know, aspiring business owners and entrepreneurs of color who may not have had that example in their family or in their community or their inner circle, to give them that tacit knowledge that gets passed down, that tribal knowledge that gets passed down
Mhm.
generationally, whether it's from the relationships that we have, our parents' relationships, the neighborhood we grew up in, the schools we went to. And unfortunately, if you're like me, when I grew up in the hood, we're
Right.
all in the same boat and the same bucket trying to get out.
Right.
But if I didn't have certain examples in my life, I wouldn't have been able to make it as far as I have. So I'm glad to be able to give that voice to those who can see myself in this role as being a woman because it's male dominated.
Right.
And that it is possible for you to do pretty much anything. And as long as you stay prepared with some type of skills, they're always transferable.
Right. So, I mean, to back up just a second, 'cause it's almost like you're talking about this idea of generational knowledge, generational wealth, generational just institutional understanding of how to sort of navigate the system. That,
Hmm.
for better or for worse, I mean, it's the way the country is sort of developed. Our community sometimes does not have that at its fingertips, oftentimes wide scale. Right. To
Hmm.
be sure, there are people who um, have had information passed down to them, but so you sort of see yourself as filling a gap there.
That's right. Because to be honest, I too aspire to be a business owner. I've had several situations that put me in that role, but now that I'm where I am in my life, I'm in my upper 40s. Now I'm looking for that generational pass down, that legacy piece. What
Hmm.
can I do to give back? And I want to start a business. So I'm going through a lot of the things that many minority business owners are having to face. And it's the first time they've ever heard it. What is a
Right.
profit and loss statement? I don't know what that is. What is a balance sheet? I don't know what that is. Do you have a budget? Well, yeah, I know when my bills are due. That's really not the budget that we're referring to in business. So um, if I can do that because grandma or grandpa didn't have that to pass down, then I'm happy to stand in that gap.
So does AldCap provide that type of educational instruction as well?
That is correct because as a business development officer, I'm not a loan officer.
Okay.
A loan officer is just basically looking at the deal, trying to see if the numbers work and the math works to protect the bank. In my role, my job is to provide technical assistance and whatever I lack. And technical assistance basically means that I am an individual that is skilled in a particular field that is necessary for business. So you have accounting,
Hmm.
you have tax preparation, you have legal documents and contracts. You have a lot of people want to be Amazon resellers. Um, you may have an e-commerce. I don't have all of those expertise per se myself, but I go out and my job is to build relationships in the community so that when I have an entrepreneur that comes to me, he or she needs that technical assistance, I know the right place for them to go. Whether it's here, we know where things are, who's to call in Wichita. I know Danetta Watson. I know the Network Kansas folks very well. So even though I'm not where you are, I make it my business to know what's available to where you are in the event I get that phone call.
Okay. So at least Network Kansas, and I keep going back to them because I know it's handled through the Department of Commerce. And since I'm a branch of the government, that's sort of where I
Sure.
fall into all this. And I know that the loan is a thing. It's a hurdle. So talk to me about what AltCap does, because I know that Network Kansas will accept for the Empower loan, they will accept AltCap as a lending institution. So how does that fit together?
Well, they will accept us as we are. So, first of all, what I want people to know is that we are a community development financial institution. There's only so many in every state. We happen to be one of the preferred SBA options in the state of Kansas and Missouri. Justine Peters, they do service the St. Louis area. And then we have a Hispanic Department of Economics Development here, which is also a CDFI. So our role is to get those government dollars or to get those what do you want to impact dollars. So instead of investing my money on Wall Street, hey, I'll put it in a loan fund over at AltCap because I know I'm going to get a return on my investment and my money's going to a social good. It's going to help some folks build some jobs. We want to increase tax base. We want new lights on our streets. We want better schools. And the only way to get that is to increase the economic revenue in the areas we live.
Because you're not like a traditional bank.
No. Yeah. The traditional institutions are regulated by the FDIC, so they're regulated by the federal government. And for them per se, they have a large, or I wouldn't say they have a very small risk threshold. So right. They can only take so many risky deals, and that would be anyone that is not in business or is in the 0 to 3 year life cycle of their business. Banks do not want to take a risk on those. They want a higher rate of return, or at least that, what would you say, the guarantee that the loan will get repaid. We're more patient and flexible in that. If you say I'm a startup, I have not made $1. Okay. Do you have a business plan with your financial projections? No, I do not. Okay. Let me get you to this organization that can help shore that up for you. I'll keep in communication with you. Matter of fact, here's my direct number. Call me, keep me in the loop, and come back to me once you've gotten, a little bit further, and let's look at what you have and just stay in it with the person, because
right.
We need a cheerleader. We need a cheerleader. I don't care who you are. You need somebody besides your mama patting you on your back and telling you that you can do it. And a lot of times that's all that's needed.
So, and I think this is the part that was so intriguing to me when I first heard about AltCap. Like you mentioned, banks are very, like you said, they're risk averse, but AltCap has the flexibility to sort of, walk people through the process to get themselves established. So what are the different financial like services that AltCap offers? I know you do business development. So you are sort of hand holding and helping people get their ducks in a row per se. What are some of the other services? I mean, I'll put the website. Yeah. I'll put the website in the chat. So
no.
Go ahead.
No. So just to give you an example so that people understand the difference and can visualize the difference, instead of just going online and placing an order, we're the individuals, you pick up the phone and call, and there's somebody that answers the phone. You're not talking to a chat bot. Every time you call back, it's not a new person. You have to re-explain your situation. I am assigned to the person that I work with. If they decide they want to move forward with a loan, not only would I provide them the business development piece of that with the technical assistance, but I will then walk them through the application process to funding.
Gotcha.
So I'm their advocate and working on their behalf between where they are and the underwriter and getting funded. Gotcha. So my job is to make the transaction smooth, and that by the end of the transaction, you actually know what just happened. You go to a bank, you don't understand the process. You may still get the money, but you still don't know what just happened. Well, you need to be able to replicate this process. You don't just go one and done and get funding for your business and you never need it again. No, you want to get better. And so you are loan prepared the next time.
Gotcha. So I dropped the website into the link into the chat. So altcap.org. So definitely people can go check it out. And I'm looking at some of the different programs. You do loans for small businesses.
So the website is going to get redone. And I'm so glad you brought up the website, Stacy, is because we are, as of January, the website's going to look totally different.
Oh, no.
Well, because just like you've mentioned different programs, or what we found is that when the pandemic happened, the only program we really cared about then was PPP,
Right.
making sure that we help those Black entrepreneurs and women and, minorities or those who are disenfranchised get the funds. Unfortunately, like we missed round one, but we got a lot of people on round two, and majority of those loans forgiven. And so, with that being said, a lot of the pots of money that we had for special programs, we just said, you know what? People need money no matter what industry they're in. So, we got away from having just little small buckets of this is for the artist and this
Mhm.
is for the developer, real estate developer. We just lumped it all in. We do have funders like the Sutherland Foundation, Kaufman, and so they put money into our revolving loan fund. So once you pay that loan back, we have that money in that pot again to then reloan or relend to another aspiring entrepreneur or someone that is starting out.
So tell me about some success stories, or that's a two-part question. So the first part is there like a loan amount? Like, is it like a $15,000 loan, or can it be higher, or is it 40, 50, whatever, and then some success stories that you might have?
So we lend anywhere from 5,000 all the way up to 250,000.
Okay.
Um, Several examples. I have had several food trucks. I had a young man who was incarcerated. He was released. He had an idea for a lawn care service. Now, this young man hand wrote all of his documents. So he hand wrote his budget, his expenses. He hand wrote his profit and loss, how he was generating income and how the income was going out. He hand wrote his business plan because he did not have that digital experience that many of us may have with
Right.
keyboards and working with Microsoft and Windows. But we were able to get him funding, and I worked with this gentleman, and even though he could not type up all of his documents, we walked through that process, and then he was able to utilize those funds, purchase more equipment for his lawn care business, and do the same for another young individual that was
Oh,
possibly on the verge of in getting into the system, the criminal system. And so he had an avenue for them to divert that energy and put it somewhere else in a positive manner. Um, I had one gentleman who was incarcerated who got out and bought a sober living home, or bought a residence and turned it into a sober living home. I had a
wow.
young lady who saw a need for an entertainment district in Kansas, and I connected her with some folks, and she hand wrote me a card the other day and said, "Hey, Kesi, it took a year, but I'm going to get the funding. I've got all my capital stack, which is basically different funding sources, but they all work together to get one project finished." So I mean, it's endless. I had a lady call me today. She wants to go into event planning. So whether you're a semi truck driver, you're making dinners in your home, you want to go to a food truck, you're a retail entrepreneur, you're selling your handbags, you make dog food. I have a lady who sells cobblers. She just won our pitch competition. She's in Hy-Vee stores. It's endless. It's endless. Several stories, and there are no failure stories, because we don't say no at all cap. We say not now, but in the meantime, this is what we need you to do. Come back, and then we can get you moved forward.
See, I knew I needed to have you on. You're just making my day. I mean, to hear, because like you said, if there's a gentleman who doesn't have the typing skills, or just the background, the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge that some of us may take completely for granted,
Mm-hmm.
that I know how to type, and then I have I have a laptop, and sure, do you need me to type this up? I'll just type it up. It may not even cross. Well, I know it doesn't cross some people's mind that may be a hurdle. So
Mm-hmm.
that your company exists. So if a person has an idea, what I'm also hearing you say, if you say, like you said, lawn care to event planning to food trucks to all these things, that there's no specific target business that you're going after?
No, there is not. And any funding that you get with All Cap can be used with Network Kansas. Matter of fact, I have a young lady right now that's been with me for about a month. There were some delays on our end, but what we had in place was a relationship already established while we get our ducks in a row to make sure that we're doing everything we can for Network Kansas. We're already ready to go with them, just a few snags, but I was able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I know you've been with me for a month and a half. I love you. I want to be at your grand opening, but let's get you this money. We have a sister organization over here. They're ready to go. We're going to pass all your documents over to them. I'm going to talk to them on your behalf. I'll be in the back wing, making sure you're taken care of. But don't wait for us, which will take 2 weeks. Let's get you going now. And we're working with Network Kansas. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have to come up with collateral for the Network Kansas. So your whole project is $100,000. If you can get 50 from us, get the other 50 from Network Kansas, you only have to find collateral for $50,000. And what that means is it's like your mom. You tell your mom you're going to give her, you need $1,000. She says, okay, well, let me hold your gold chain until you pay me my $1,000 back. That's basically what collateral is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay,
this is why I said gold chain. Look, I'm a hip hop kid. Look what I said. Gold chain came to me because that's of my roots. I am hip hop. I'm Flavor Flav and all of those.
There you go. You and I are the same generation. Yeah, although you said if you're in your upper 40s, believe it or not, I got you by a couple of years. I'm a little older. But okay, so I just love hearing the stories how you're working in the community, one, but then working also in the financial community of knowing who all the players are around there in the financial community, so that if necessarily you can't help a person out, then maybe it's an issue of knowing where to send somebody.
That's right.
And how to get them hooked up in the right spot. Okay, this is fantastic. So I was going to ask about the different programs that are on the website, but you said those have been rolled into one, because especially that art cap, that caught my eye, because I know some artistic people, and I have a cousin who's a writer, and just this idea of accessing. But so if it's all been rolled into one, so if there is a person who has a publishing company.
I had an animator contact me who actually worked on The Simpsons, and what he's doing now, and you may have heard him on NPR, is that he's bringing that Hollywood animation technical training to Kansas City with a animation institute.
Wow.
So
no, I hadn't heard that.
Huh?
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, well, he called us. And then I turned around and heard him on NPR the next day. And I'm like, I talked to him. I talked to that man. I know him. I'm famous now because I know somebody. Right.
Why not? I don't understand. Why not?
So, I mean, if we have Gift Kesi, the artist, the Black artist scene is really busting out in Kansas City, whether you're doing, wall art or vases or sculptures or, we're an artsy town. So yeah, all things art. We love it.
So I just love it. So there's no, I just love, you'll take anything or any business and help them out.
Yeah. I had a call for HVAC today. I had a gentleman who purchased a semi truck a while ago. He's doing great. I had a gentleman get a loan to rehab a Airbnb. So
see, that's good.
It's all endless stuff. Skincare. I have a lady who's inventing a juice. She's a cold pressed juice, seaweed, all moss seeds.
So you guys will work with just about anything. So here's what I'm hearing. So, and the reason I wanted to have you on is because traditional lending institutions can be, and I'll go back to it, they can be risk averse. Mm-hmm. So if a person maybe doesn't have the perfect credit score, or if they
Mhm.
don't have the ideal set of background of technological, expertise on certain things, but that you will help people get everything lined up to be able to get to the next step.
Because yes, because what you want is a relationship.
Yeah.
So I had just a quick story. When I first started with All Cap about a year and some months ago, had a gentleman, his wife, him. They have daycare running for 7 years. Pandemic, they had to close down, but then they reinvented themselves as a 24-hour daycare and relocated. They needed some funding. Well, since they were starting a new entity, it was like a startup all over again. Boy, they ran into hiccups left and
Mm.
right, and so I just hung in there. They had to reorganize the company, not once, but twice. They had to find another investor to come on board. Then they had to go. I'm proud to say that we got them funding, but the point is that we worked through their hangups because we understand. But then the other piece is that when we do it, you got to follow through. You can't blame somebody that you didn't get somewhere when we give instruction and then you don't follow through. Don't let that be you.
Right. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. We're at about 27 minutes here. Thank you so much, Kesi, for coming on and talking about AltCap. So the website is in the chat, and I will be sending out links afterward. I'll email out. So if you're not on a KAAAC's listserv, make sure you get on KAAAC's listserv. I think it's, again, for the whole month of November, I've been sort of focusing on economic development. So there are a lot of opportunities out there. I know my reach, my audience isn't super huge, but as I find out things, I do what I can to get them out. And this video will be on YouTube. So shameless
Awesome.
plugs here at the end. Please, this is good. It's on Facebook Live streaming right now. It'll be up on YouTube by the rest of the day. Please, everyone, subscribe. I feel like I'm an influencer. Like, share, and
You
subscribe.
are.
Comment, all those things.
I'm still learning.
I
I
know.
can barely do my LinkedIn.
Girl, you and me both. You and me both.
But let me know if there's any way I can help. We have two other business development officer, John Teasdale and Ivan Griffin. Go to the website, choose one of us. We'll be happy to chat with you, with anyone.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Kesi. Everybody else, I will see you next week. And I believe, honestly, Scott Schwab, the Secretary of State, is going to be on next week. So there we go. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you next week.